typically whenever you go on any cruise that's multi-day and you're on a big boat, you get sick the first, day or two. But then after that, usually you're fine. And that's what happened to me on the bottom trawl survey off California. I don't think I ever felt great on the Bering Sea. I went on the Oscar Dyson, which is a NOAA run ship, which is an amazing ship. But a lot of the laboratories are inside, and so a lot of the work you're doing is inside.
Which is difficult if you're not feeling well. Yeah.
So,
that's a difficult thing.
I don't know if it was a good fit for me, so I'll be looking for more quantitative heavy positions.
But I think that's important to highlight. I'm glad you said it, because I feel as though a lot of people who are aspiring marine biologists that may not have their sea legs ever. There are biologists who are like that. I worked in the Gulf of Mexico for almost a full year, and we had a number of different researchers that would come as a UNOLS boat. So we had a number of different researchers that would come on the boat, and there were some that were fine. And then there were others who were like, oh yeah, like I'm going to throw up the first night. I know this, but I'll be fine after that. And then there are others who are like, no, I'm going to be sick the entire time, but that was the PI. And he's like, but I have my crew here who's going to do the rest. Yeah. And so there are always people who have a sort of variation tolerance to, to the sea. And I think that can help define what you like, what you don't like. And I think that's fine. You don't have to be, in the Bering Sea or in the Pacific, just in general, is unforgiving. And you don't have to be there if you don't feel comfortable doing that. You may not be able to partake in some research in that, but there's so much other research, like you said, Jenny, that you can do, whether it be on shore or just along the shoreline in smaller boats, doing different types of surveys. And I think that's okay for people to realize.
Yeah. And even data collection, I don't see myself as a scientist going forward doing a lot of data collection. I do a lot of modeling. And so I take data that others have collected and make sense of it. For my PhD, obviously in my master's, I did data collection, as you should when you're in training. But now going forward, I do see myself as more of a quantitative scientist, and
yeah. And when you're doing that, you're dealing with like decades long of data too. Like it's not just 1 or 2 years like you would do in a PhD. It's like could be like 30 years, 40 years for all we know, right?
Yeah.
Preferably.
I was working on a data set that's 1970 to 2100 because I'm working with climate projections. And so, that's a lot of data. And so there's positions like that you don't have to collect data, that you can, do a lot of quantitative modeling. So
I did one. I'm a quantitative biologist too. Like when I did my work, I was more GIS focused, but I did one study like for Great Lakes, and I had data from like the 1800s.
Oh wow, that's
cool. Like fish, like what fish were in which Great Lakes, and to see how that changed and if they got the
really
same.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool study. It was a lot of fun to do that. Yeah, I just wanted to I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's just something that people I think need to know coming into this field, is that there's so many different ways you can go about, and field collection can range too, from tide pools to deep sea ocean. You just never know what you'd like.
Getting it from papers.
Through papers, yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of the work that we do in Nick's lab is a lot of meta-analysis, and those papers can be huge. And,
Absolutely.
You need people in all fields. You need people collecting data, working on single species. You need people to bring all of that data together and look at patterns across species. And so I think that there's a place for everyone. And, most of my, all of my work is behind a computer.